Hi everybody. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about heart healthy diets. As you know, heart disease is on the rise every single day, and I'm not just talking about the United States. I'm talking about everywhere in the world. This is because we have chosen convenience foods over natural foods, and therefore today I'm going to just talk a little bit about some of the cooking tips that I have listed for you. Now, I want to start off with the basics. A lot of the times we end up baking, making soups, making stir fries. Those are very common go-to options for most of us at home. So when you're baking, you want to make sure that you are including whole grain flours instead of using refined flours, cutting back on the amounts of sugars that you're using in there, trying to use something like dates or I wouldn't really go for artificial sweeteners because that does take a toll on your kidneys. So I'm not going to encourage using a lot of artificial sweeteners in your diets either. Thirdly, I want to focus on sodium. The amount of sodium that we add in our diet is too high. So, really, it is a good idea to cut back on sodium. Lastly, we want to make sure that we are controlling the amount of saturated fat and cholesterol that we're getting in our diet. Those are few of the tips that we can use in heart healthy cooking. Now, when you're doing stir fries, usually it's a good idea to do vegetables like peppers, broccoli, mushrooms. Those are the kind of healthier vegetables if you want to do stir fries. And if you are doing stir fries, make sure that you're not using too much oil, even if you know that some oils are heart healthy, some oils are advertised as being heart healthy. Doesn't mean that they really are. It's still an oil. It is still going to be very difficult for your body to process, and so it's a good idea to use very little amount of oil when you are stir frying anything. Now, cutting back on saturated fats. Usually, most saturated fats come into your diet from any sources of animal proteins. So, choosing leaner meats is a very useful option. That said, if you already are a person who has any kind of cardiac issues, this could be hyperlipidemia, this could be high blood pressure, it could be anything which is significant to developing heart disease in future, then I have to tell you this, that even if you're eating a lean protein, like let's say you're doing skinless poultry or skinless chicken, understand that no chicken is fat free. Okay, right now in the market, the only animal protein that can be in the form of a fat free option is dairy and dairy products. So you can do dairy, but then it is a good idea to also make sure that whatever you do, you portion control. That is the key here. Moderation is always the key. Okay, now fish, it's eating fish is actually pretty good. They do have omega-3s, but then so do some of the nuts. So if you're vegetarian, I'll be very happy to share some of the vegetarian sources of essential fatty acids for you. If you are cooking or using any kind of grilled patties and things like that, especially right now during the summer, I would definitely recommend trying some black bean patties along with the ones that you're doing, just because you want to cut back on the intake of meats and sodium from those patties, and make sure that whatever you buy, read the nutrition label and make sure that you're going for the low sodium options. Cutting back on sodium is really simple. Reading the nutrition label takes care of most of it. Typically, what we say is that you don't want to exceed over 2 teaspoons of salt in your entire day. Okay, so I would say that 2 teaspoons of salt, and especially if you're cooking at home, it's quite a bit. For a pot, 1 teaspoon is quite a bit, and so you're just going to have a small portion of it. That is the best way to control your sodium. Therefore, eating at home is much more important than getting food from outside, though it can be very convenient to go and buy your foods. Unfortunately, the low sodium options in restaurants are not exactly something very trustworthy unless they have made sure that the dish is actually low sodium, but then most of the time it is not a very popular dish. So again, I would really encourage eating at home, cooking at home, making sure that you're planning your groceries ahead. These are some of the techniques that you can use to eat more heart healthy foods, and I will be talking to you more about some of these conditions, more specific conditions, and giving you more tips and tricks coming up.